My name is Tyson McMurrin, and I am the Director of Customer Growth and Innovation at Third Way Business Systems. And today I'm covering off our webinar topic on how to increase fulfillment velocity. For over 25 years, Third Way Business Systems has worked with customers to get more out of their ERP systems. As the original SAP Business One Gold partner in North America, we work hard to help you grow and thrive in a digital world. So you saw the image at the beginning slide talking about increasing fulfillment velocity. And when we talk about increasing the velocity of goods, you have to think about getting the products in and through as well. So today I'm going to be covering off right from the how we get product in to how we get it out and delivered, and making sure that every step of that way that we're really thinking about the velocity and how to get the most out of it. So to start with, when you start thinking about increasing your velocity, one of the first things that you should do is ask, who's recording the information today? So is it you have a bunch of people in a front office that are entering orders in, releasing orders, reviewing it, ordering items, tracking where purchase orders are, and back office warehouse staff that are, entering information in on paper, transposing that information over, passing it back to the front office for it to get updated. And if this is the case, a lot of times what we see is that there's a big cost of that. And that is that you have employees, and right now in this post-pandemic world, or near the end of the pandemic that we're in right now, staffing is really hard to find. And if you have a staff of employees that are doing manual processes, and they're constantly in this state of no visibility and limited use of the ERP outside of SAP Business One, and they're just busy, I call it ripping and reading, so just grabbing information and rekeying it. So if you see anything where you're dumping things from Excel and emailing it, or a lot of paper processes, and yes, I still see fax machines at some of the companies that we talk with, or triplicate forms, or a lot of like rekeying of information, we know that we have a speed bump to your velocity in your business. So this is an area to really look at and examine all of these processes and figuring out, how you can better move the information versus the way that you're doing it today. And today I'm going to be covering off some of the usual suspects and some of the areas to look into. But just know that, the cost of all of these manual processes with no integration, and hiring more people just to kind of rework things comes at a cost, and that cost is really around growth and profitability. So if your inventory, you have too much or too little, if you don't know what your margins are, if you're not accurately processing each of your sales channel orders, you could end up getting chargebacks. You could end up losing business, or you can't gain new customers because the processes that you have in place are just too manual for you to be able to consider taking on any additional customers, just because of the amount of effort that it might take in order to do that. And with that really comes down to lack of visibility of purchasing data, management information, and it really hinders the business growth and profitability of organizations if you're really not in lockstep with what's happening within your ERP solution or your accounting system. So this isn't a big secret, so I'm going to tell you, it's all about the transactions. They must be automated, accurate, and real time. And if you can realize that, you're going to be in such a better place in regards to being able to, really provide an amazing customer experience. you're going to have an organization that employees want to work at, and your vendors are going to enjoy working with you as well. So, if you can realize the state of automated, accurate, and real time, the core SAP Business One system obviously being where we house all the information, and all of the different organizations around it interacting in this environment where we're constantly sharing information in real time. There is no loss of transactional time. And this really allows you to increase that fulfillment velocity. And I'll be talking a little bit more about that specific piece. Um, but we work with hundreds of companies, day in and day out, and truly help them grow and do exactly this, which is, increasing the fulfillment velocity. And through working with these customers, we started to realize that there was more to ERP than just the core SAP Business One. And we realized that it came down to what I call the 4 C's for SAP Business One. And that is that your business is effectively mapped and configured in the core system, and that being SAP Business One for most of the people listening or attending this webinar. That your other systems are connected and automated, so C being another, connected being another C, and that anybody can communicate, access, update, or process information from anywhere while staying in sync with that core information, and that all parts of the business are in control of predictable results, which leads itself to the last one where I was talking about accessing and updating data from anywhere and staying in lockstep. Well, if you have proper control and predictable results around those processes, you're going to be in such a better position to be able to, empower customers with information, empower your salespeople with information, and trust that the information that's getting entered in by these different parties, that it's accurate and reliable. So back to the flow that I started with today. So how can we get product in, receive it, sort it, put it away, get the orders into the system, pick them, check them, pack them, label them, ship them, and get them delivered to the customer? And how can we do that? By increasing the fulfillment velocity. So one of the big things that I'm seeing right now is, especially with the pandemic, getting an accurate forecast is an area that many companies are not spending enough time and energy on. So, get closer to the customer and understand what the demand is going to be, and get that information into an accurate forecast. Because if you can have these accurate forecasts, it's going to allow you to, be able to execute a plan versus just kind of, taking a best guess at what you can actually, when you're just purchasing without really understanding what the forecast is. This is where you end up with too much or too little inventory that I talked about at the beginning of the webinar. So how can we get accurate forecasts, and how can we collaborate with all of these different parties that I was talking about, where we are communicating with different people that might be interacting with that? Well, what if you had a portal platform that allowed you to share and interact with information across all different types of roles in order to get that information and interact with your supplier as well? Like, can you fill this? So that then you can start to get to a better place instead of just sending a purchase order over to your supplier and hoping that they fill it. Interacting with them in a real-time fashion in regards to what they can actually fulfill is going to allow you to get your goods out faster. Because if you lose 3 or 4 days of emailing back and forth after you send a purchase order to your supplier, because of time zone change, and holidays and all those different types of things, if you can stay in lockstep with things, and if your supplier can validate, yes, I can fill this, and then you can submit your purchase order or update a purchase order and release it to the supplier, and they have it a lot faster. We're getting that information out of email. If we can have our sales employees, gathering information in regards to forecasts, if we can start to, get visibility into pipeline, if we can start to get information from our customer in regards to what we think they're going to be selling in the next quarter, or getting them to give us their forecasts. What that's going to allow us to do is have better visibility to this data. And if we can do that, we can truly have the state where everybody is in the same mindset and the same level of information is being shared. And this is an example of one of our customers that did just that. They set up a B2B sales portal, and they estimate that they save about $10,000 a year just by removing the administrative overhead for their customers to be able to find an order and place an order and find customer information. So these were these people that were, looking up information and rekeying it, or, extracting information from core SAP Business One into Excel and then emailing it to a sales rep. They figured that they saved about $30,000 a year in automated report generation. So being able to take the information that you have and trust it, and be able to run reports that you trust and can rely on. And they figure that they saved hundreds of thousands of dollars in over-under forecasting by removing the blind spots into inventory availability. And that comes from having real-time transactions. So this is a quote that came from that customer. Versago is a very cost-effective and flexible tool that has become central to running our day-to-day business. We look forward to implementing it in a more customer-facing role in the future. So, they truly see the value in that communicate piece, and connecting the platform to SAP Business One and being able to share that information to the parties. So that 4Cs that I was talking about, really starting to, truly trust that beyond just the core SAP Business One. So what does this mean? So, what does this mean for forecasting? Well, if we can have all these different parties interacting, and if we can get accurate information into a forecast, maybe you've never put a forecast into SAP Business One. I'll talk about why it's important in a couple slides here. But really, the forecast is going to drive where you can move forward in the future. And that's truly going to allow you to do some things that I'll be talking about in a couple slides from now. So the next thing that I recommend that you do is review your item master. So look at your master data. Look at things like, what's the lead time? Look at things like, are my packages correct? Do I have a default bin? Are my units of measure correct? Is my pricing correct? All of this information and reviewing these item masters is very important, because a lot of our customers that implemented SAP Business One a few years ago are in different business models now. And the way that you interact with your item master becomes important when thinking about things like, maybe when you started SAP Business One, you sold everything by a pallet, or you sold everything by a case, and now you're selling by eaches. And if you don't have your unit of measures properly figured out, and you're doing things like decimals, or maybe everything was at an each and you're doing a lot of like pallet ordering, get those unit of measures in, because you can barcode things and you can move things around your warehouse by those barcodes. So, really allowing you to, all those steps that I was talking about at the beginning of, getting the order into the system, getting it out to your supplier, getting the goods to the dock, reviewing them, inspecting them, and putting them away. If we can automate and streamline that by different units of measures, it's going to allow you to increase your velocity. So why was I talking about forecasts and item master data and reviewing all of that? The reason is that I highly recommend that you look at using the MRP module within SAP Business One, because what this allows you to do is look at things like, what do we have in stock? What do we have on order? What do we have sales orders for? What is our forecast? And from that, what's the lead time as well, of that item? And from that, the MRP module will start to give you feedback in regards to, how you're doing. So you can see all these reds are items that I know that I have more demand than I actually have available stock. So these are my hot spots that I need to be able to, react to and work with my vendors and figure out with my customers how to allocate these orders that I have from the customers in order to, get those orders out. So, using the MRP really allows you to gain visibility into all of the different areas of where your pinch points of inventory are going to be. And the nice thing about an MRP is if you truly set up your master data properly, the MRP is truly a reliable tool to allow you to do exactly what it's designed to do, and that is to make a recommendation. You can see on the tab here it says recommendations, because that's all it's going to do, is it's going to give you recommendations of what you should be doing. It's not necessarily saying this is what you're going to do, but those recommendations are just based off of the logic of all of the different layers that the MRP steps through. So if you've never run an MRP, and you need help with that, reach out to me. I'm more than willing to do a one-on-one and step you through the MRP wizard in our demo environment, and I can explain all the different pieces and why the forecasts and the item master data becomes really important in order to trust the MRP module. So getting goods in, how can we get goods in faster? Well, one of the things that historically would happen is if you were ordering containers from overseas, historically you would place your order, you knew it would come in a few months or, 6 weeks or, whatever your traditional lead time was. And you would place your purchase order, you would let a consolidator put the container together, and that's changed. Why has it changed? Well, there's kind of essentially 4 reasons why. One is the cost of a container has exponentially increased, from $4,000 to $7,000 for a container historically. Talking with some of our customers, we're seeing container costs coming in around $35,000 now landed. So getting visibility and maximizing the volume that you can get into that container, mixing multiple purchase orders and multiple purchase order lines into that container. Historically, you would just order a container from one supplier, fill it up, ship it out, and if you didn't maximize the volume, that didn't really matter. The other thing that we're seeing a lot of is maybe your purchase order quantity is not matching what the quantity that the vendor can ship, but you want to split those PO lines out and keep that purchase order open so that you're staying, top of mind with your overseas suppliers, and they'll fill that order in the future. So being able to split those lines out, fill a container, get those items into the container, and maximizing the volume of that container are all areas that our customers that are using our container management module are truly seeing value in. The other thing that we can start to do with using a container management module is we can start to use some logic around the departure date or the port arrival date to calculate out what we think the warehouse date is actually going to be. And we can update the purchase order and any related sales orders that have allocations against it so that we can provide the best customer experience possible. The employees know when this purchase order is going to be landing so that we can, make sure that we have room on the dock so that we can receive these goods in. We can, validate the orders. The other thing that some of our customers will do is when we change the status to received, we can receive all of these items automatically into like a receiving bin location or into a receiving warehouse. And then from there, what you can do is you can perform your putaways and your inspections. And once you're done, all of your putaway and inspection, that warehouse or that bin location should be empty. And if it's not empty, that means that you were shorted on it. And then you can start to, review where that shortage came from. So it really allows you to streamline the process of unloading and putting away. The other thing that we're seeing a lot of right now, especially with the tight supply chain, is we're receiving these goods and we're not even putting them away. We're cross-docking them immediately across to get them out the door. So knowing which sales orders these are linked, the purchase order line is linked to, allows us to, immediately take these goods from that receiving location and move them over to the pack station so that we can get them out the door. So the coordination of that warehouse date becomes really important because it allows us to, kind of set the stage to be able to get items moving very, very quickly through your organization, which is going to increase that velocity of your fulfillments. You heard me talk about a container used to cost, $4,000 to $7,000, and now they're upwards of $35,000. So one of the things that I highly recommend, and this doesn't necessarily help with velocity, but it will help you with identifying maybe some items that aren't profitable that you don't need to be ordering and selling anymore because you're doing all these touches, but you're not getting the margin out of those touches. So maybe shift your focus and with that data and knowing where your profitable products are, that's going to allow you to increase your velocity because you'll be buying the right items that are profitable for your business. So I recommend looking at the landed cost module. If you look in our container management, you can see that we actually have an estimated landed cost area so that you can start to estimate those costs so that you can do your margin analysis up front, and then you can perform your landed costs and get your costing on these items accurate. And again, this is another area that if you've never done a landed cost before, reach out to me and I can help step you through this. Because this is going to help you pass that freight cost into your items so that you can truly see your margins versus, having that on a line level on your P&L and not necessarily matching to your revenue and your margins. Another area that I recommend is considering a warehouse management solution. Barcode scanning and getting the information from the user and getting it off of paper is going to eliminate some of that ripping and reading that I was talking about before. So if we can do things like receiving and bin holds and building your lot numbers, if you're in a regulated industry where you need to have lot numbers and expiries and those types of things, a WMS solution is going to allow you to be able to move goods through the warehouse and maintain that visibility of your lots and your expiry dates. It's going to facilitate faster putaways. It's going to facilitate things like letdowns. So maybe in the past you've never had to do letdowns because you sold by case, but now you're selling by eaches. So being able to lay out your warehouse so that you can have picking bins where you'll break a case down and put it into a picking bin so that you can pick your goods and get them moving faster. A WMS is going to allow you to facilitate those inventory movements so that you don't have the problem, which I'll talk about a little bit later, where if you do have a picking bin location and somebody did a letdown, but they didn't update that bin location, now all of a sudden you turn in the paperwork, and if somebody didn't perform the inventory transfers yet and you're trying to finish the pick list, you're going to get errors saying that you don't have enough stock in that bin location in order to do that pick. So a WMS is going to allow you to, perform those transactions a little bit faster. So depending on the size of your organization and the complexity of your warehouse, this is an area to consider. And I'm more than willing to help you with analyzing whether or not you need a WMS. I have a video that I can send you of if this, then you don't need a WMS, because adding complexity of barcode scanning into your warehouse operations, if your operations are very simple, you may not need a WMS, but it is worth considering if you do have things like I was talking about, where historically you sold by cases and now you're selling by eaches, and you need to be able to break cases down and have visibility to eaches versus cases. A WMS will certainly help you with that. And also, if you're in a regulated industry, a WMS is going to allow you to move pallets around your organization with multiple lot numbers or multiple serial numbers on it, and not have to scan every single serial number as you're doing those transactions, or every single lot number. So I talk quite a bit about getting product in, and how that increases your velocity of fulfillment, which kind of seems counterintuitive, but hopefully you can see with tight supply chain how getting better visibility to your forecast, getting better purchase orders, knowing when a container is going to land, being able to receive it and sort it and put it away, or receive it and cross-dock it, to check and pack, and be able to kind of bypass this loop and go directly to check and pack with those items that you're receiving, will increase your velocity. So the next set of slides I'm going to focus on after an order is placed, how we can get it out the door a little bit faster. And you can see that I have a circle around the ordered placed. And that is because I highly recommend integrating to the platforms, because this is another area that you're going to see your users doing a lot of that rip and read and rekeying. And maybe it's you have salespeople that are using Salesforce and they're entering the orders, and then somebody's printing out, or they're taking a flat file from the Salesforce and keying it. Or maybe it's some of the ones that you see here: Amazon, Shopify, WooCommerce, BigCommerce. These are the big ones that we're seeing a lot of integration to platforms around. But it goes deeper than that, and really it's about connecting, integrating, and automating SAP Business One to the platforms and partners that you have, where you create an environment where the data flows in sync with the physical activities that are happening, while maintaining process over control. So I've talked a little bit about this at the beginning when I was talking about the 4Cs. And that could be the platforms that I was talking about. Maybe it's some of your things like HubSpot, or maybe you have EDI. Getting those EDI orders in faster, getting the Salesforce information in, getting information from your e-commerce platforms or your Amazon orders in, getting those orders into the system faster becomes a way to get your velocity of fulfillment faster. Well, how? Well, things like Amazon, where you have 2 days to have it at the customer door. Well, if you're spending 4 hours of that time in paper shuffle and rekeying before getting it to the floor to get it picked, to get it shipped, you're going to end up with a lot of late orders. Same with EDI. If you miss a dock appointment with Walmart, that's going to cost you probably into 5-figure chargeback. So, making sure that those orders are into the system faster, allocated and picked and shipped, is going to eliminate a lot of those types of things where you're going to have chargebacks or you're going to have upset customers. And I have some slides that'll talk a little bit more about how to get the velocity of the information. So when I talked about the master data at the beginning, the master data also becomes an area where you can start to use the pick and pack manager, which is a feature in SAP Business One that will help you increase your velocity, because now you can consolidate multiple orders and allow those items to be picked and then packed. So you can start to do things like wave picks. So maybe you had a special on Cyber Monday for an item and you have 20,000 orders for that item. But then there's a bunch of orders that had additional items on it. Well, if you can wave pick and grab all 20,000 of those items, bring them to the packing area, and then somebody else can pick up the other items, and then you can start to consolidate at the pack station. That's going to save a bunch of steps throughout the day, because instead of having somebody, do the 100 steps to go get that item from the location, take it over to shipping, now you can wave pick and you can pick all of those items all at once. And then from there, once you've picked them, then you can, check, you can do all of those different pieces in order to pack and get them shipped out. You heard me talk about bin locations earlier. Maybe historically you were selling in cases or pallets, and now all of a sudden you're selling in eaches. Bin locations really help you with not only the pick and pack, like I was talking about, where you can do things like a wave pick, or you can, you can start to have a flow within your warehouse where you have rows, rack, bunk, and bin locations set up so that you can actually have a logical flow that a user would walk through the warehouse. You can also start to have things where you, like I was talking about, where maybe you do a letdown and you break a case up into eaches, and that's where you pick from. So you can set up like pick locations, you can set up put away locations, and SAP Business One has these bin locations. They've been out for quite a number of years now, and if you're not using bin locations, there's probably a handful of reasons why, but a lot of the SAP Business One companies that we're talking to certainly are at a point where they should consider bin locations to help streamline the picking process to get that velocity up. I talked about WMS and considering a WMS for the inbound. The same goes for the outbound. So if we can, pick those items, we can pick all those items to a pallet. We can move that pallet over to the pack location all in one swoop. We can receive goods. We can move them around. And leveraging a WMS and implementing bin locations will allow you to maybe even reorganize your warehouse. I recently put a post out on our blog area in regards to things to consider before implementing a WMS. After the webinar, if you're interested in that, let me know and I can send you a link to that article that talks about things like, do you have Wi-Fi in the back? Should you set up bin locations? Should you reorganize your warehouse in order to get a better hold of things? Are you moving to another warehouse? Are you using a 3PL and you just want to give them a barcode scanner so that you can just give them the orders on the WMS? There's lots of reasons why to leverage a WMS. So another area where just reach out to me, I can help you consider those. I talked about the getting goods in, I talked about getting orders into the system faster, we talked about picking, and then I kept talking about packing. Well, what if you can integrate your packing within SAP Business One, where we can generate the shipping labels and the tracking information all within SAP Business One? This is an area where recently I placed an order with a company. I was ordering a couple of tools. I ordered a tire rack and I ordered a DeWalt tool. And the DeWalt tool showed up in a box at my door, and the tire rack wasn't there. And I ended up sending an email to this company that I bought these items from, and saying like, "Where's my other item?" And lo and behold, like 3 days later, for whatever reason, the delivery company decided to deliver one item to my door and put the other one to a depot for me to pick up. But meanwhile, because I didn't know and they just put the single packing list into the one box that I actually received, and it said that those two items should have been in that box, I was confused. I ended up sending an email to their customer service. Their customer service had to look it up, find the tracking numbers, figure out, what was going on. And all that costs them time, and it also, decreases my customer experience, because had I known that there was only supposed to be that one item in it and that there was another package coming, and you shared the tracking numbers to me, I wouldn't have had to ask that question. So how can we do that? Well, you can see here that we can identify how many packages we have. We can identify the package type. We can integrate to a scale so we can read a weight. And then we can identify which items are in which box. So this way, if a box gets lost in freight, and you have to do a claim, we know which items were in that box. We can, provide better customer experience, because we can, provide them with a detailed list that says, here's your tracking numbers and here's what's in each of those boxes. We can either generate the labels right from SAP Business One and print them automatically, or we can integrate the data and pass it over to WorldShip after doing this packing, and then from WorldShip you can process your shipment, or FedEx, or Indicia on the USPS. So this allows you to integrate your packing to the carriers that you use. And it's also going to allow us to, generate and automate that tracking that I was talking about. So, we can generate the labels for those boxes right at the time of packing. We can put those tracking numbers back into SAP Business One and link to the AR invoice there, so we can see each of the tracking numbers. And we even have a track packages icon there, where it will go out to the carrier and track that information, so that if you get an email from like the story that I was just telling you about, you can quickly look it up, track it, send that tracking number to the customer, because maybe the email that got sent to them got lost in junk, or they deleted it and they don't have that information. So it really allows you to streamline that. This is also ultimately important if you are doing e-commerce and you need to pass those tracking numbers back up into your platform. So the integrations that I was talking about for getting orders in, the same goes for the fulfillment and for your stock availability, getting those integrations up and down. So if you're interested in seeing how to integrate things like your stock levels, your new items, your orders into SAP Business One, and your fulfillment back to your e-commerce platform. We've done a bunch of webinars in the past in regards to that, so let me know. I can send you a link to those, or we can also have a one-on-one session similar to some of the other areas that I talked about. So this is an area where if you want to provide that better experience, or if you have to, looking at automating your packing and your shipping and your tracking, and having all that information in the core SAP Business One will help with the, that customer experience all the way around. So I've covered off a lot of things around the core and how to kind of expand out beyond the core and just the modules within it. And Third Wave has a bunch of 4Cs options to really help you with that. So EDI, platform integrations, B2B and B2B e-commerce, supplier integration, payments, warehouse management, shipping solutions, container management, returns, portals for sales and customers. And ultimately, working with Third Wave, what you get is you're going to get the most experienced SAP Business One Gold partner in North America, and we're going to help you scale and support your business every step of the way that I talked about earlier. Our expertise, as you can see, extends beyond just SAP Business One and ERP. We truly can help you as a trusted partner in helping you navigate supply chain challenges. We'll work closely with you to elevate your level of self-sufficiency to the need that you want. So if like things like the integration, this isn't just a big empty box where you don't know what exactly we're doing. We're going to make sure that you understand what we're doing and get you to a point where you can maintain and you can do all of the changes if you wanted. And as your system requirements grow and change, we're always here to assist you. So you heard me talking about that in the webinar. So many companies have transformed due to the pandemic. Maybe they're in a totally different business. Maybe they've acquired a supplier. Maybe now you're selling eaches. There's just so many different things that that have changed, and change is inevitable in business. So just we're here to help you. And throughout that journey, as I mentioned, there's a bunch of solutions and things that we can do to help you. And ultimately, we are awarded the top innovation partner in 2020 by SAP because we knew all of this ahead of the pandemic. We were helping our customers do all of these things to increase fulfillment velocity before it became a really big thing, which really kind of helped a lot of our customers pivot throughout the pandemic. But it's never too late to change. So if you're struggling with your SAP Business One environment, reach out to me and spend time. I'm more than willing to spend time with you talking about all the different things that make your business unique and some of the challenges that you have around your business. And I just look forward to those conversations. And if you need anything, or if you have any questions, just reach out to me. My email's on the screen here. I'm more than willing to spend the time to help you navigate how to increase your fulfillment velocity. So with that, thank you, and have a great day.